Hi, it's Jo Pater, and welcome to the third in this series of training videos on speaking confidently in meetings. In the last video, we talked about preparation, setting an intention for the meeting, and also how you could disagree. So in this video, I'm focusing on interruptions, because research has shown that women are 3 times more likely to be interrupted than men. And one of the reasons behind that is because women tend to communicate for connection and collaboration, whereas men tend to communicate for power. Because if you listen to a group of women talking, they generally use a softer sort of language pattern. They're very inclusive, they ask questions, and they allow brief gaps between speaking to enable other people to respond. Whereas in contrast, a group of men will speak over each other, they'll rarely ask questions and rarely have gaps between the statements. It's a general pattern, but obviously not true of everybody. And when I said that women are 3 times more likely to be interrupted than men, the interesting thing is that they are interrupted by both men and women. So what can you do if you're being interrupted? Well, first of all, you need to decide whether it's something you want to speak up for. Maybe you'd already finished your point or had nothing important to add. So maybe it isn't actually worth speaking up about. But if it is and you want to make a point, then you can keep talking, raise your volume. I know that might feel uncomfortable, but it isn't aggressive and you are only repeating the other person's behaviours. So it may be important that you finished your point, and most interrupters actually don't realise what they're doing. Otherwise, you can call it out. You can use phrases like, "Can you wait a moment? I haven't finished yet." Or, "I'm keen to hear your point, but actually I'm not done yet." Or if it really is an ongoing long-term problem, you can take it offline, speak to the person who facilitates the meeting, maybe to be supportive of you, or get somebody on board else that you know in the meeting, just to back you up and to say things like, "I don't think Jo had quite finished her point there." So to avoid being interrupted is an interesting one. So dealing with those interruptions can be more difficult than actually proactively putting things up front. So set an expectation of what you wanted to say, such as, "Well, I've got 3 comments to make on this, which will take a minute to share." Or to say something like, "I've got a few points I'd like to make, so if you just give me a chance to explain that, and then I'd love to hear from everybody else." Other than that, it's about being concise, keeping your point short and using smaller sentences. Then there's less opportunity for people who are interrupting to jump in. And if you're being concise, people who are urgently wanting to get their point in will recognize that you're not going to be talking for quite a while. Make sure that you speak only when you've got something you feel is of real value to contribute. When people waffle or talk for the sake of it, they're much more likely to be interrupted. So what if you want to do the interrupting? Well, first of all, make sure that it is really important that you interrupt at that point, rather than waiting to speak later. Ask for permission, for example, "Can I interrupt for a minute?" That question acknowledges the fact you're interrupting, but it also shows respect for the other person. Again, increase your volume, use a confident, open body language. If you're trying to make a point and the person speaking is not allowing your way in, then you can speak louder and continue to lean forward to give yourself the message that you are interrupting and you have an important thing to say. And then you can acknowledge the speaker, by building on somebody's point. You can also interrupt people while being supportive, such as, "That's a great point, Jo. I'd like to add to that." So there are ways in which you can prevent yourself being interrupted, or you can deal with an interruption, or in fact, you can interrupt yourself. So this is another stage in building up to you being comfortable in speaking up in meetings. When you've built your confidence, try out some of these aspects of dealing with interruptions. That is really going to add to your confidence in all sorts of meetings. So if you've enjoyed these training videos and you would like to explore more how coaching could help you be more confident in your career, then do book yourself a no-cost call with me. And on that call, I will talk to you about your particular challenges around confidence in your career. And I'll also share with you a 4-point plan to enable you to go ahead and really fly in your career, to have that confidence that you are going to be noticed and promoted. I look forward to talking to you, and you can either go to speakwithjo.com, that's speakwithjo.com, or you can click on the button below to book your call with me. I hope to speak to you soon. Thanks.